We weren't doing punk. There was no punk. We were doing mainstream rock music. We were doing what we were supposed to be doing. We were paying attention to everything, and we were making music that we were supposed to make at the time. People like to say we're experimental, but we're not. We know what we're doing. We don't experiment. We know what we're doing. Now, somebody like, I don't know, Christian Aguilera or Madonna or Lady Gaga, they experiment. They're avant-garde and they're experimental and they're underground. They're doing weird music. We don't do weird music. We don't do experimental music. We do mainstream rock music. This is what everybody does. What we do is what everybody does, and what they do is weird. So I kind of have a different view of your question because I can't go along with it. Because the basis of your question is that we're doing something weird. We're not. They are.
Okay, so what does inspire you now while doing music and producing
What
music?
inspires me?
Yes, and is the same that was inspiring you in the beginning of your music project, like Pere Ubu and...
My ideas haven't changed at all in 40 years. I have exactly the same ideas now as I had then. I don't allow them to change. The way it's constructed is exactly the same thing. Again, you have to remember that we were paying attention to what was going on, and what was, and there was a lot of interesting things going on in the mainstream. Of course, there was like the Velvet Underground, which was next to the Velvet Underground, the Beatles are an underground, experimental, avant-garde, incomprehensible jazz band. So there were Terry Riley and Silver Apples and Captain Beefheart and MC5 and all of that was in the mainstream, and we've carried on the mainstream of rock music.
And what about the music scene in Cleveland, about the city? There was like a special moment for doing music at that time, and what about it now?
We were doing what we were supposed to be doing. There's really no reason that I and we should be punished for doing the right thing. There's no reason that we should be interrogated about what was so weird going on. Well, no, you should ask, John Bon Jovi why he wasn't paying attention.
You're right.
So, you should punish him, not me, by interrogation. We listened to everything that we could get our hands on at the time. There was great record stores in Cleveland, and if your record store most of us worked at record stores, and if the record store you worked in or that you shopped in didn't have the latest Popol Vuh album, then you really, should be ashamed of yourself, and you couldn't hold your head up. It was, everything. There was a great emphasis put on having everything in the record shop that was going on in the world, no matter how popular or unpopular it was. And so we listened to everything, and we weren't trying to be rebellious or any of those other things. We weren't trying to be punks. We weren't punks. We thought punks were idiots. We were paying attention to everything that we were hearing, and we were figuring out what we should be doing, with all that information. You learn from what other good people are doing that's good, and then you figure out your place in the forward movement of the mainstream of rock music. The thing that people get really confused when I say my ideas haven't changed. Well, let me tell you one of my ideas.
Yes.
One of my ideas is that you should never repeat yourself, and you should never do something that you know how to do. I don't repeat myself, and I don't do something that I feel comfortable doing. And every version of Pere Ubu is a distinct and separate universe of potentiality.
A lot of some of your album titles referred to theatrical operas or maybe playwriters. Is this Lady from Shanghai inspired by something or some literature?
Well, Lady from Shanghai is a movie by Orson Welles. It's nothing to do with the film. It has to do with the ideas that Orson Welles was using when he made the film. And his film is about his ideas. Our album is about our ideas, which are similar ideas to what Orson Welles was working on in his mind. So it's not about the film, or it's not about book or this or that. It's about ideas that he happened to be working on.
And we were talking about music in the moment. So music now. What do you think about? You mentioned like Madonna or Lady Gaga. And technically speaking, what about the file sharing? So the free download of music.
Oh, you see, this is your problem. I don't care. It's not my problem. The music business always changes. Technology always changes. Well, you adapt to the change, or you ignore the change. I don't have any thoughts about it, because it's basically crap, and the music industry has always been basically crap. So you say, oh, what about the crap part of our business now, today, that we young kids are, yeah. It was crap when I was young, so, crap is crap. I can't differentiate between your crap and my crap.
And is there a group, a band, young band that you like now? Like you think they're doing good, or some?
Well, there's plenty of people who are doing good stuff. I don't keep lists of people that because if I said somebody, it would happen to be somebody that just was in my mind the last 12 hours or something, totally random. There's bunches and bunches of people doing really good stuff in all sorts of fields, and I just don't see what me saying, oh, I like this person, really gets anybody anything. It happens to be a random name I pulled up. I'm not being difficult. It's just that, of course, there's lots of good stuff. Most of it you're never going to hear, but that's the way it always was. That's why record stores were important, because you could go in there and discover things that you never would have come across ever. Most good stuff is unknown. That's just that's the music business. It's crap. What do you want me to do about it? There's no point, and just to finish off, there's no point us just sitting here and complaining about it. When I was starting out, I had a set of problems that I had to solve. Somebody starting out now has a different set of problems, and they've got to solve them. There's no point sitting there whining about it, complaining about it, even saying it's crap. What's the difference? You got to deal with it.
How much is important to send messages today, and what kind of messages do you think is important now to leave?
I think messages have no place in music. The purpose of music is to reflect the nature of the there's no message in there. You know, what message do you want your boyfriend to give you? You know, I bought you flowers. You know, I love you. You know, that means nothing. You know, I hate to burst your bubble, but it means nothing. You know, so the experience you have with your boyfriend or whatever is meaningful, but that goes beyond words. And him coming in going, "Oh, I love you," you know, you may have a momentary flash of simpering emotionalism about it. It doesn't mean anything. So that's the purpose of art. That's the purpose of music. It's not messages.
What about the name of the band? She thinks that when you choose this name, Pere Ubu, you had us a message. I'm sorry to using this word. You said now that you don't want to deal with, but you think it's still working, like inspiring this name for your band? And
there's three. I can't remember how many things you wanted in a band name. One, you wanted to have 3 syllables. Pere Ubu, 3 syllables. 2, you wanted to seem like it means something and has some resonance in the music, but you want it to be totally unspecific and not get in the way of anything that you want to do. And I can't remember the third thing. I'm sure it's really important. But you know, we were and remain educated and well-read people. You know, we'd run across the Jari plays. I'm the one who chose the name, and there's various reasons that you could that have to do with. You know, you're asking me to explain art, and I really never explain art. I might give you clues, and I might give you hints and suggestions, but I don't explain it, because what's the point of doing it? If I could explain art, I would be a writer or something, you know, or a critic or something, you know. You know, art requires a great deal of discipline, and it requires a great deal of work and effort and a certain vision and a certain... Well, it requires a lot of stuff. And so Pere Ubu, the choice of Pere Ubu, fits in various points over the years, over the many recordings. There's been various indications of, you know, how you might interpret it. None of them are obvious. So I guess that's the answer to your question, I'm afraid. Is that I don't explain. It's a joke.
It's because you use theremin. So I know you like a lot science fiction, because your first band, Rocket from the Tombs, the name is
sure.
From a science fiction movie.
Yeah.
Do you like the inventor, the theremin?
Well, Robert builds his theremins. He's playing one it's a Moog at the moment. It's built. I mean, it's manufactured, but that's just because his hand-built one is too delicate to take on the road. I don't invent so much instruments. I do with my engineer do a certain amount of invention in the studio. We invent microphones and play with using different things for microphones. We went through a long period where we're using speakers as microphones, because a microphone and a speaker are the same technology, so we're turning speakers into microphones. We haven't done that so much just because, as I said, I don't repeat myself. I work on something for a while until I think I've gone as far as I can go, and then go off in a different direction. And I'm using different ideas in the studio now than that. But yeah, we tend to invent sort of things to get sounds I mean, we have an idea for a sound, and we think about how we can go about getting it. We're not often the simplest thing to do is just try to put something together that'll give you that sound. It never does.
Yes, but you say that you don't do experimental music, but an inventor must be an must do experiments. So you
would think you're just trying to trap me out. You're just trying. Okay, I can explain this. Experimenting means that you go into a situation and you try a bunch of things. Most of them don't work. I don't experiment. I know what I want. So I'll set off and to invent something to get a sound or that I want. But the process doesn't fail. Wherever I go, I find something that works, and I go, all right, well, that wasn't what I wanted, but I like it more. So that's not experimenting. That's like, Thomas Edison wanted to invent the light bulb, and so, he knew what he was doing. It's just he had to figure out what filament to put in the light bulb. It's maybe subtle, but it's so you didn't catch me out after all, did you? I win.
Okay.